We started out in the hallway and spinning in the same direction, and we learned turning and keeping the same momentum and the same planes and the same general look and feel whether we're going forward or backward. Then we learned changing it to split time where they're still going the same direction, and we learned turning with split time also. We learned stopping one, and now we're in opposite directions, and then if you stop both of them, you're in the other opposite direction. We learned changing from these opposites to these butterflies, and what that is just the same timing, same direction, but you turn your body a quarter turn and take one across. And these are really good for quarter turns because you can get from these opposites to these butterflies to these other opposites to these other butterflies with these little quarter turns that are kind of bite-sized and nice. Yeah. We learned, let's see, we learned moving in this kind of corkscrewy way. We also learned straightening that corkscrew up and getting it into a windmill. And then we started to learn, and this is a good one to keep on practicing, moving from split time into windmills. Into split time. So, we also learned this other way, sort of a more flourishy way of turning from forward to backward by sticking out your hands to get 10 behind you and turning very patiently. Likewise, you can turn the equivalent forward, backward to forward with the slay the orc in the sword in the scabbard technique. We learned about stalls and about how to achieve a stall by clapping when your poi is where your hand will go. You start your motion when your poi is at where your hand is going to. And that can be anywhere. You just have to deal with it stopping there.
Dan, before you go on, can you show us putting the sword in the scabbard?
Yeah. Okay, so sword in the scabbard is broken down. It's you put your swords in your scabbards, sort of like hitting your butt with your poi, turn around, take them out, and slay the orcs +3. So together, that looks like aim for your butt, turn and miss, spinning forward.
Yeah.
And you can combine these things into repetitions. Likewise, you can combine these things into small, bite-sized, repetitive motions that you can just trance out on for a few minutes. Wonderful practice with all sorts of benefit. We also learned this two-beat weave, where both hands are making this infinity shape, like where one hand can make an infinity shape, two hands can follow, like see how my left hand is just following my right hand. This is a two-beat weave. If I do that same exact thing with poi, I get what else did we learn? We learned the backwards version of that, which is tracing the same set of infinity. And we learned to turn from the backwards to forwards and forwards to backwards two-beat weave. We started touching on a three-beat weave, which is very much like a two-beat weave, but you got this extra turn in there, extra circle on each side. You learn anything else?
Pretty.
Breathe. We learned the breathing game, which is applicable all the time. It is never off limits for breathing. We did learn this. We learned this repetition, which combines the two different turning forward to backward. So we do the more flourishy forward to backward, and then the simple backward to forward, and that turns into this, which applies itself really well to this split time version. We also learned playing with music, and you can spin and dance in whatever way the music makes you feel, but you can also do it on a more structured way. If you just, for example, have your poi hit the bottom of their circle every time on the downbeat, it will look like you're dancing with the music. It'll feel like you're dancing with the music. We just had an awesome lesson from Andrea Louise, who learned a trick that she was struggling with by learning a different trick and going, oh, that just feels right, and like getting the feeling of what it feels like to do it right, that smoothness, and that eased her into the feeling of smoothness with something that was previously confusing.
For me again, that one.
Sure. So, the other possibility of combining space and time is, so here we are spinning opposites, here we are spinning opposites, but it's together time, so we can also do split time. And the difference is, now it's the poi heads are meeting at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock instead of 6 and 12. With that, your motion becomes more side to side, and also your hands are more side to side. Like with the up and down butterfly, you have, see how my hands are one on top of the other? And with this one, hands are more side to side of each other. We learned that you can shorten your poi for short living rooms, low ceilings, or also just to produce a different effect. Oh, we also learned this one, which can also be done backwards.
Shin to zero.
Yes. I think that might be what we learned.